Welcome to my YouTube channel, Alfred Atanda, MD,
where we discuss hot topics in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, telemedicine, and other digital health innovations,
and vlog about day-to-day life as a physician. Please enjoy the next video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk to you all about something that I have some experience with, but I'm by no means an expert, and that's in the realm of finances or revenue or income. And that's something that makes a lot of people nervous, especially us physicians, but anybody in any field or any specialty, because a lot of us, that's why we do what we do, is to make money, to pay our bills, to feed our kids. But as I've been on this journey of self-reflection and really learning about myself and what I've been doing, one of the interesting things that I've examined is looking at, well, how do I provide value, or how do I get compensated for what I do, or how do I generate revenue? And as a physician, it's very simple. I can do one of two things. I can do procedures or surgeries, or I can see patients in the office or in the clinic. So when you get sick and you go to your doctor, that's a clinic visit. And that's really about it. It was a little shocking when I figured that out, that that those are the two primary ways that I can be of value to my organization. And those are, the main ways that any large health system or hospital makes money for the most part. But when you want to really think about becoming financially independent and generating wealth, you really have to look at very, very first and foremost, well, what can you do to generate any amount of money? And you have to understand that. You have to understand your limitations. You have to understand what you're capable of. And for me personally, there's not a whole lot of things that I can do in the traditional sense with my day-to-day job. And as all physicians out there, I think that's something that we can all resonate with. By identifying the ways that you can generate revenue or add value is going to be really important as you embark on this journey to explore and examine your financial situation. So the second main thing that I think you really need to think about is not just thinking about your income, but really exploring the different types of income. And this was news to me, because I used to think that, people wake up and they go to work and they get a paycheck and that's their income. But it's actually a lot more complicated than that. And there's a lot of different ways that you can look at your income. And I have a little schematic here that I want to share with you all. So when you look at different types of income, there's really four main types. So linear income is what we all know, and probably 95% of the population knows, is that you basically get value for whatever you're providing one time. So you do something or provide something and you get paid once for it. It's basically a way of trading your time and your energy for money. So in the medical world, it's very prevalent in the fee-for-service world. We provide services and we receive fees for that. But in the general population with non-medical jobs, you can think of it as your salary. You do something for your employer and they provide you with a salary. Passive income is basically the direct opposite, is that you create the thing of value or the asset once, but you get paid multiple times over, and you can receive that income again and again and again. So if you have stock in something, if you own shares in a company, or you get royalties for something, if you create a video or some sort of course and you have licensing fees associated with that, you put the energy in upfront and do that. But the dividends and the revenue and the income can be over and over and over and not really require all that much of your energy. When you look at recurring income, that's kind of a form of passive income, where like I said, you've created something once and then you get recurring revenue for it, whether it be in the form of rent, memberships, or subscriptions. Leveraged income is kind of along the same lines, but it's basically where you're taking other people's resources, so other people's time, other people's energy, other people's effort, other people's skills, and you are utilizing that to your own benefit. Again, linear income is going to be something that we're most familiar with, but as you'll soon see in the next few minutes of this video, it may not be the most efficient way to generate revenue when we're talking about your time and your energy. So I like this graph because it puts it all into perspective in a very visual way. And you look at this quadrant and it talks about the 4 main ways to produce income. Whether it be you're an employee, which most of us are, and you have a job, you take your time and your energy and that becomes your income. And depending on how much time and how much energy you put in will determine, well, in a lot of times, how much income you can get back. But in this situation, you don't really have that much leverage. And most of the wealth is with 5% of the people, i.e. the employers. If you look at when you're self-employed and you own the job, you still don't have that much leverage because even though you're not reporting to an employer, you have to put your time and your energy into your business in order to get income. And if you don't really work that much, then you're not going to get that much income. When you look to the right side of the screen, now we have areas where it's more passive, where you're a business owner and you own a system. You have a lot of leverage because you are depending on other people working for you. That income doesn't really depend on your own active work and energy and time. It depends on that of other people. So if you can find a way to motivate them and push them and get them to work at their optimal level, you can reap the benefits of that in a very easy way in terms of your time and energy. And the last thing on the right you can see on the bottom is if you're an investor. You basically take your money, you invest it in something else, and if that something else grows, then you get more money. So you are using your money to make more money. And that's, again, not really dependent on your time or your energy. So these are the 4 big buckets of ways that people can generate income and revenue. So if you look at linear versus passive income and kind of a direct head-to-head comparison, if you look at the growth potential, well, with linear income, your growth potential is linear. The more work you do, it's directly proportional to the growth the income that you can grow. Whereas passive, it's exponential because, again, it's not directly dependent on something like your time and your energy that runs out. It's dependent on a whole lot of other factors, and it can grow exponentially. The income duration, well, if you work in a linear fashion and you stop working, then your income stops. It's very simple. Whereas in a passive way, you don't really have to go to work every single day because whatever you've created or whatever you've provided in that one situation can continuously and indefinitely provide income for you. And the income relationship. So this is the big thing. If you're trying to generate wealth or create wealth, you're always going to be chasing your income if you have to show up to work and spend your time and energy to do that. Whereas passively, you can create wealth in a multitude of ways because, again, it's not directly dependent on you. And this is the big kicker. If you want to be financially dependent on your job, then yeah, you should have a linear type of income stream because that's how you make money. But you can be truly financially independent if you can find ways to generate revenue that's not directly related to your time and energy. And that's the sweet spot. That's the nirvana. I think the people who really, really generate wealth and are quote unquote wealthy, those are the people that have figured that out. And the one thing that's been really hard for me is your time. So when I was a medical student and a pre-medical student, I actually had a lot of time. I just didn't have any money. And now that I'm a full board certified practicing orthopedic surgeon, I have a lot more money than I used to have, but I don't have any time. Because in order to keep up the amount of income that I generate, I have to keep working. I have to trade my time and my energy for more income. And what happens is you actually don't have a lot of time to enjoy the large amount of income that you make. And it's actually very counterintuitive. But in a passive sense, when you're not working directly for your income, well, you actually have more time to enjoy the income that you're making. So these are really big distinctions that you should keep in mind. So the third main thing I think you need to think about that I want to share with you is this idea of residual income. Now, this isn't a term that I've ever really thought much about, but residual income is exactly what it sounds like. So when you make the money that you make and you get your income, let's say you make $100 a month, when you then pay your electricity bill and your water bill and your food bill and your transportation costs, and you pay for your kids' school, let's say you now have $10 left because you spent $90 on your expenses, just to keep it simple. So that $10 is your residual income. So if there's a way that you can figure out how to bolster your traditional income coming in with other sorts of income, i.e. passive income, then you may find that at the end of the month, that residual income is now $20 or $30 or $50. And that's how people really get rated in terms of their financial health. Because there's a very big difference between making a lot of money and having a lot of money. So you can make $1 million a year, but if you spend $999,900 of that every year, then theoretically at the end of the year, all you really have to show for it is $10. Whereas you could make $100,000 a year and only spend 50,000 of it. And at the end of the year, you have $50,000 to save and to invest and put towards eventually creating that generational wealth. And what I mean by generational wealth is wealth that's going to be passed down from generations to generations. Now, you can work hard and save your money and keep your money and spend a lot of your money and not have much to show for it. But guess what? When your kids are older, you may not have anything to pass down to them. So the idea of maintaining financial health and financial independence also includes this concept of residual income, because you want as much of that at the end of the month or at the end of the year, or whatever you're using to measure, as possible. And that's a big fallacy that a lot of people don't realize. People look at certain, they look at other people in their lives and they say, oh, this person makes so much money and they have such a nice car and they have such a beautiful home and they wear nice clothes and they take all these trips and their kids go to these expensive schools. But you don't know what kind of residual income they have. And to be honest with you, making a lot of money isn't necessarily the most important thing. I think you have to think about having a lot of money and having things to show for it once you've paid off all of your expenses and the different things that you have to pay for. And as you can imagine, the more expensive things that you have, the higher your expenses are going to be and the less residual income you're going to have to invest and save and get into a lot of those passive income endeavors that can help create generational wealth. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is ways to think about alternative income streams. So whether or not you have linear income or passive income or leveraged or recurring income, you want to have lots of different ways that money comes into you. You want to diversify yourself as much as possible. If you have only one income stream, for me, we'll use an example. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. If that's all I do to generate income, if one day something happens and my right arm has to be amputated and I can no longer do surgery, well, that's a problem because that's my primary way to make money. But if I have 10 different ways that income comes into me and my primary one has an issue or I can no longer do it, that's still not optimal, but at least I can think of other ways that I can continue to have that income coming in. And I think as a physician, we're not taught that. We don't learn much about that in all of our years of training. We're not typically good business people, and we tend to immerse ourselves in our medical jobs and our subspecialty jobs, and that's really all what we know. But the beauty is there's actually lots of things out there that we may be good at that we're not aware of that can help generate income. And I've listed a few of them here. So some sort of service or selling something is a great way to diversify yourself and add other income streams, whether it be some sort of product that you've created or even a passion project. There are tons of things that we all are good at and do as hobbies that could potentially generate some sort of income if we think about it. Some people have invested in real estate, whether it be an apartment building or homes. Some people own things like car washes, photo booths. They franchise something. They open up a bar or a bed and breakfast. Again, it's not all about going out and doing things just to make money, but these are things that you can think about because a lot of us dabble in these sorts of things anyway, but we may just do it as hobbies or we may not have formalized it. But coming up with lots of different ways to bring income in is going to help secure that future financial independence and that generational wealth that a lot of people are looking after. So specifically for physicians and people in the healthcare field, now there's a lot of alternative revenue streams that are unique to us. And the one thing I always impress upon other physicians and new residents and fellows and trainees is that if you really think about it, we have so much knowledge that's just swirling around in our heads. We have so much experience from our training and seeing patients and doing procedures. We have so much knowledge just from reading. But again, if you go back to that primary way of how you make money, either I have to see a patient in the office or I have to do some sort of procedure. If those are the only two ways that I know how to make money, well, what's happening when I'm at home and I'm watching TV or I'm just hanging out with my kids or my kids are asleep and I'm reading a book? I still have all that knowledge in my head. And the beauty of the year 2020 is that technology is everywhere. And if you can find a way to get that knowledge in your head, get that information from point A to point B, from myself to another doctor, let's say, that may need that information, or to a patient that may need that information, then I can find ways to leverage my knowledge and generate income in a recurring and passive way. In the traditional sense, me sitting here right now making this video, I'm not generating any revenue, right? The way I make money, like I said, I have to get up, go do a procedure or see a patient. So in the traditional sense, I'm just sitting here doing nothing, but all this knowledge in my brain could be out there. But all of these things that I've listed here are great ways that doctors can make alternative revenue streams. Telemedicine, seeing patients virtually, doing e-consults. So as a specialist, seeing patients and providing consultation to other providers. Prime example of that is somebody hurts their wrist, they go to an urgent care, they get an x-ray, it shows a fracture. I can chat with that doctor via telemedicine, telehealth, via some sort of virtual platform. I can talk to the patient, bill for it, all from the comfort of my own home or in my office or in my car or wherever I may be. It's all about moving knowledge to where it needs to go. Second opinions is a huge burgeoning business that a lot of doctors are getting involved in. Typically, patients have to get up and come to your office. But now you can see all their images, all their notes ahead of time, and then transfer that knowledge and that opinion to where it needs to go in a way that's convenient for everybody. Motivational speaking. As a doctor and a surgeon, I've been through so much. I've had so many experiences. I can get on a stage and talk to a bunch of other doctors and other providers and even patients and just share my knowledge. It has nothing to do with seeing patients in the office or doing procedures, but I have knowledge that I can impart to people that may help them. And if there are other doctors, it may then in turn help patients. And these are all ways that you can generate revenue. Social media. So this is a YouTube video, right? So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you create something once, you put it out there with technology, you disseminate knowledge and information, and potentially could be reimbursed for that. Also, as a physician, there's lots of utilization management positions and case review positions where you may partner with insurance companies and other payers to figure out different cases for patients, and you can utilize your knowledge that way. Consulting is huge. Right now, I've been in the telemedicine space for about 4 or 5 years. I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of experience. I can go to other orthopedic practices and help them work through the challenges of a digital health offering, give them my insight, give them my expertise. Again, It's taking the knowledge that's in my brain, getting it from one place to another, and potentially generating income based off of that. The fifth and final thing I think you should think about is becoming the notion of a thought leader. Now, this term gets thrown around a lot, but it's basically the idea that you have experience or knowledge in something, and that you can get up in front of other people and share that knowledge, or you can make a video or write a book about that knowledge and disseminate it to people and get paid for it and receive more income or a different or an alternative income stream. I wanted to share one example of someone that we all know who has done this to a T. He's actually not in the healthcare profession, but he's an expert at becoming a thought leader. So this is someone that we're all familiar with, Michael Strahan. This is a little bio about him. As you know, he's an ex-Super Bowl champion. He played in the league for 15 years with the Giants. He's in the Hall of Fame. The last couple of years he was inducted. But the big thing about him is what he's been able to do after he played football. And me personally, I think he's probably had a bigger impact and has made almost as much money, if not more money, after he actually played. And we all know that he's a broadcaster, he's a commentator, he's on daytime TV, he's did all that stuff with Kelly Ripa, he's written books, he's produced TV shows, he's been in movies, and the thing about him is he's really found a way to capitalize on the frontline work that he was doing. So how does one make money? For him, the way he generated revenue was by playing football, right? And at the time, that's mostly what he did. And he got older and he retired. And obviously he can't still play football. And I guess he could go and just sit at home and watch TV, and he probably had enough money to do that. They didn't really need to do anything. But by finding a way to take his fame and his notoriety and his work ethic and his celebrity status, and now he's blown up. He's all over the place. And he comments on football. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you want to really make it in a particular field, just talk about it. Be a thought leader about it, because you can't play football forever, but you could talk about it probably till you're 100 years old, right? And if people win, if people lose, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your job. You just talk about whatever it is that you're seeing. And the fact that you were in the game for so long, people will trust you. And that opens other opportunities. Like I said, he's on daytime TV. He's writing books. He probably has camps for kids and things like that. That's obviously an extreme example, and us as physicians don't really have that kind of access to that celebrity status. But if you think about it, just training and doing all of your residencies and fellowships and working in frontline healthcare for 5 or 10 years, you're going to have a lot of experience too that other people may want. And it's something to think about, whether it be writing books, doing speaking tours, speaking engagements, doing grand rounds, mentoring other people. There are a lot of ways that you can take your experience and your knowledge and transmit it to other people who may need it. And again, working in the front lines of healthcare is very frustrating. It's very time consuming. It takes a lot of energy. Just like for Michael Strahan, playing football and being in the game, your body's getting beat up and all that. You can't do it forever. Being in healthcare is tough and it's hard. So one option is to do it for 5, 10 years, get a lot of experience, and then find ways to become a thought leader within healthcare, because it's a lot easier. You're not necessarily seeing patients all the time. You're not getting sued by patients. You're not dealing with the EMR, but you're doing a lot of benefit and a lot of good for the world of healthcare by spreading and disseminating that knowledge that you have. And that's something that I'm trying to do as of late, is take my experience in digital health and telemedicine and my social media experience, and now disseminate that knowledge in a way that's outside of my traditional way of generating revenue. I always go back to this theme, seeing patients and doing procedures, because that's hard. It's taxing. It takes many hours. It takes me away from my kids. It takes me away from my home. But I'm here in the evening in my own home making this video in a flexible way that's convenient to me. So those are just the main things that, I wanted to impress upon you all today. And in summary, my 5 big things to think about if you're trying to be financially independent, and generate and create generational wealth, whether you're a physician or not, even. First and foremost, you have to examine how you make money and how you add value, and be in tune with that and understand that. Secondly, you have to understand the difference between linear income and passive income, and how you can infuse a lot of as much passive income into your income stream as possible. The idea of residual income. You've got to find ways to have money at the end of the month, at the end of the year, to be able to put away, to invest, to save, to do constructive things with it. It's not all about making money. It's about paying your expenses after you make money, and then having money left over is the key. This idea of alternative revenue streams is huge. Don't get locked into one primary way of making money. Try to diversify yourself. Try to figure out as many ways as possible that you can have income coming into you. And last but not least, think about being a thought leader. Think about what you know. Think about the experiences you have, and try to figure out ways that you can get that out to people without actually being on the front lines and in the trenches of your particular job or your particular craft. Because you may be able to be a thought leader for years to come in ways that aren't as taxing as your primary job is, specifically if you're a physician. So thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for listening to my account of trying to find financial independence. Obviously, before you make any big moves, before you do anything with your money, you should consult a financial advisor and an expert in the field. I'm just giving you my own personal experience, my own personal bias, and a little bit about my personal journey. So thanks for listening. Please subscribe to my channel and like this video.